Hey everybody, we are going to go over the male anatomy today, but before I get into the male anatomy, I'd like to see what you recall from the last lesson. So let's just go over some of the basics on what we talked about. How many total chromosomes does a human have? How many pairs is that? Of those 23 pairs, how many pairs do men and women have in common? Pairs 1 through 22, what are those called? AP Bio kids know that. Autosomes. What is pair number 23 called? Sex chromosomes. Okay. What are the female sex chromosomes? XX. What are the male sex chromosomes? XY. Which parent determines the gender of the offspring? The male, because if I were to take a female's whole body how many chromosomes would I get from a cell in her head? 46. How many would I get a cell from her foot? 46. How many would I get a cell from her abdomen? 46. But how many would I get in an egg cell from her ovary? Right. Now I want to make this very clear. Your ovaries are made of cells. Those have 46, but the cells that your ovaries produce are called egg cells or oocytes, and they have 23. How many sex chromosomes are in every egg cell? You're not listening to the question. How many sex chromosomes are there in every egg cell? So, okay, no, I'm going to go with what you said. Nope. So the egg cell has 2 X chromosomes. So how many chromosomes does a sperm cell have? How many sex chromosomes does a sperm cell have? 1. All right, so it could be X or it could be Y. So what if this egg fertilized that sperm? It's going to be XXX. Or if that egg fertilized that sperm, it's going to be XXY. Would you like to take back one of your answers? How many sex chromosomes does an egg cell have per egg cell? Correct. An egg cell has 1 X chromosome. So no matter what, a female is going to pass on an X chromosome, whether it's the one you inherited from your mother or the one that you inherited from your father. Eva, what sex chromosome did you inherit from your mother? What sex chromosome did you inherit from your father? Correct. Where did your father get his X chromosome from? Right. Jack, what are your sex chromosomes? Where did you get your X chromosome from? Where did you get your Y? All right. Okay. Very good so far. Last question, we'll move on to the female for a review, then we'll get into the male today. What cellular division process is responsible for growth, repair, and replacement? If you skin your knee, you break a bone, you tear a ligament, you bump your head, you have to heal. What is that, mitosis or meiosis? Does mitosis make identical cells from the one it came from, or does it make unique cells from the one it came from? Identical. So if you skinned your knee, you want knee cells to come back. If you pierce your ear and you don't put an earring in your ear, it's going to heal up. That's mitosis. What do you call the process that is only used in humans for making sperm and or egg? Meiosis. Correct. Okay. Let's go back over the female. Let's identify. Can you tell me what organ systems are in this picture that are not reproductive organs? Can you tell me one, Sloan? Okay, correct. We have skeletal. The one that's labeled on this diagram is the pubic bone. And I can also tell you that the spine is on here. Melanie, can you tell me another non-reproductive system organ or parts of the system that are on this diagram? What is the bladder part of? Correct. Urinary system. Noah, what other parts of the urinary system are located on this diagram? I'll highlight the skeletal system in yellow. I'll tell you what, I'll highlight the Urinary system in green. What else besides the bladder is part of the urinary system on this picture? Eva? The ureters, good. The ureters connect the kidneys to the bladder, and that's where urine flows. There's one more part. The urethra. Oop, that's not the urethra, way off. Hold on, where's the black marker? Cover that one up. Where's urethra? There it is. Okay, good. True or false? The female's reproductive system and the female's urinary system are connected. False. Okay, so that is the female. Hold on, let's highlight that. Some green in there. Ureter, urethra, urinary bladder. Great. What other organ system is on this picture that is not part of her reproductive system? Isabella? What organs do you see specifically? Yep, large intestine is not labeled, but I'll write it in for you. Okay, I'll highlight this in blue. Large intestine. What else do you see? What's the end of the large intestine? Yeah, but they're parts of it. Okay, great. Now, everything else on here is part of the reproductive system. So let's go. What do you call the organs where egg cells are produced as well as the hormones estrogen and progesterone? What are those? Those are ovaries right there. Girls, you have two of them. When do girls produce their egg cells? No, that's when you release an egg cell. When do you produce them? Pre-birth. Trick question. Pre-birth. You have them before you're born. Okay. What is the place where fertilization happens? The sperm fertilizes the egg. Some people call this the miracle of life or conception. Fallopian tube. What is another name for the fallopian tube? Oviduct. What is another name besides oviduct? Uterine tube. Okay. Where does the fallopian tube lead to? Another name for this organ is called the womb. If you got a hysterectomy, this is removed. If you are the result of a C-section like me, then this was opened up to pull you out. This is the uterus. What type of muscle is the uterus made of? So can the female control it? No. When she is having menstrual cramps or she is going into labor, they cannot be controlled. Let's see if you guys really remember your stuff. What hormone from your pituitary gland causes the uterus to contract? Oxytocin. Good job. Okay, great. What is the inner lining of the uterus called? You shed it every month when you're on your period if you didn't get pregnant. The endometrium. Do you shed your endometrium if you're pregnant? What do you call it typically where your embryo did implant in your endometrium, but you shed it anyway? Correct. That's a miscarriage. You want to maintain your endometrium when you're pregnant. When you're not pregnant, you shed it and you start all over. So some girls say, I'm on my period. Some girls say, I'm bleeding. Some girls say, I'm shedding. It's all the same thing. Okay. What do you call the bottom of the uterus, which is like a little sphincter that connects the vagina to the uterus? This is the cervix. My friend who's going to be in here this Friday, she's an OBGYN and obstetrician gynecologist. She basically helps deliver babies and helps moms get ready for pregnancy and all that stuff. She says she's going to show you some pictures of pap smears and how they should look and how they shouldn't look. The girls should probably know what a pap smear is. Guys, you're like, huh? A pap smear is a procedure where they just check to make sure, or a test really, to make sure that the cervix is nice and healthy and doesn't have any signs of disease like cancer. Okay. The cervix also lubricates this next organ. This organ is used for three things. One, this is where the penis goes for sexual intercourse. Two, this is where the baby exits. It's also called the birth canal. Or three, it's where the endometrial lining is shed out of the body and how it goes from inside the body to out. What is this organ? This is the vagina. Correct. All right, keep it going here. Those are all parts of the reproductive system. Here's a few others. What do you call the opening of the vagina? One, you have two different sizes of them. They're kind of the exterior. The labia minora, the labia majora. What do you call the little structure that's typically just associated with sensitivity and sexual stimulation? Clitoris. And I think that's all of it. We have everything unerased or erased. Yes, Isabella. Hurry up. All right, guys, well done. That's how your quiz is going to go on tomorrow. I'm going to give you a description, and you have to tell me what the structure is, and you're going to have an arrow pointing to that structure. It's going to be very similar to this diagram. But now, if you could please get out your male anatomy, let's go ahead and get into this one. One thing that you all will have to do is you will have to know every place that sperm has to go from where it is created to when it fertilizes an egg. Now, you should know everything for the female. So, consider all this, the male parts, and you'll learn this later. Let's say in this circle are all the places sperm has to go in the male in the proper order. Well, eventually as sperm goes to the female, there's really only 1, 2, 3, there's only 4 places. Can you tell me the first place in the female that sperm is supposed to come in contact with? The vagina. Then where? Cervix. Next, uterus. And finally, fallopian tubes. Good. Now, that's easy for the female side. For the males, there's just a lot more. You can see everything I have covered up. So what you'll get today is you'll learn where sperm is made all the way to where it leaves the male's body. And then you just continue it to the female. You will eventually have to know all that. All right, well, let's do what we did with the female. Let's identify the non-reproductive organ structures. So what is this structure right here? And here. The reason why it's hollow is because your spinal cord goes in it. I kind of just gave it away. What did I just highlight in green? What system? This is the skeletal system. What is in the front or the anterior? This is the pubic bone or the pubic symphysis. The pubic symphysis is just where the left hip and the right hip come together in the front. Symphysis means to come together. And then what's this in the back? It's not labeled, but I'll label it. Huh? That's the spine. Good. I'll highlight those in green. Okay, what other system do you see in here that is not part of the reproductive system? I see the digestive system. Good. So we have the rectum, we have the anus, and I guess I have to draw the line for large intestine. We'll highlight this in yellow. Okay, great. One more organ system that I see. What do you see? The urinary system is correct. What is this structure right here? In men, it's typically larger than women. So guys, when you're on a date and you go to the movies and she has to go to the bathroom a couple times during the movie, try to be patient. She has a smaller one of these than you do. What is this? This is the urinary bladder. What do you call the tube that leads urine to the bladder from the kidney? The ureters. Good. And what do you call the tube that empties the bladder to exit out the body? The urethra. Now, this is where it gets a little complicated. The urethra is shared by the reproductive system and the urinary system. So I'll try to highlight it like this, but I'm going to have to share it too. That is the urethra. But the reproductive system uses it too. Okay, guys, I think that's everything. That's just a muscle. Let me just check. Yep. Okay. So I think we're ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to coordinate this with numbers, and we're going to start where it all begins. We're going to start in where sperm is made. Can you tell me where sperm is made in all these structures? Do you know? The testes. We're going to start there. This will be structure number 1. Those are the testes. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. There are 2 of them. The testes are the site of sperm production. When do males typically begin to produce sperm? Puberty. For you guys, middle school. When do you stop? You don't. Until you die or you lose your testes, whichever comes first. Not only do they produce sperm, but what hormones do they produce? It also produces testosterone. When a dog gets neutered, they remove the testicles. Humans often don't get neutered. There's a different procedure. Yes, Sam? It's also produced the ovaries, but very small amounts. Nowhere near the amount of males. All right. Well, the testes are the site of sperm production. You have 2 of them, and they produce millions of cells of sperm a day. In fact, in one ejaculation, there's typically between 150 and 350 million. 150 million to 350 million sperm cells per ejaculation. But when a woman ovulates and she releases 1 egg cell a month, I mean, that's 1 to 350 million. So on Friday, I told you a very inspirational story. When your mom and your dad conceived you, there were about 350 million sperm. There was 1 mom egg, and every sperm cell was a different person. Every sperm cell is a different combination of genetics. If you take an AP Bio, you know about crossing over. Every sperm cell has a different combination of genetics. And the sperm cell that made you was the first one. You were born a winner. You were actually not even born. You were conceived a winner. How many of you have siblings? How many of you have siblings from the same 2 adults? You and your sibling are different. This just goes to show you that every egg and every sperm is a different combination of genetics. If I was wrong, then you and your siblings would be identical to each other, but they're not. Every egg and every sperm is different. So you being who and what you are is basically impossible to replicate. All right. Well, why are the testes external? Anyone know that? I mean, the ovaries are inside. Hold on. When the SRY gene turned on, all you guys, Chris, Tyler, Noah, Jack, your ovaries turn to testes. But why do they go outside? Why do they, what we say they dropped? Chris? What's that? Is it sperm is made in a specific temperature range? Is that temperature range above or below body temp? Below. Spermatogenesis is the production of sperm. It occurs at high 80s to low 90s. Body temp is upper 90s, everyone, 98. So I'm going to tell you a little story of mine, friends of mine. They got married like 5 years ago, and they've tried having children. They're like the worst combination to try to reproduce. We're just going to say their names are Jack and Jill. Well, Jack has like the worst quality sperm. Jill has the worst quality eggs. So it's just a horrible combination. They've tried everything they can to conceive, and it's just not in the cards. Well, when they were first trying, the husband was doing everything he could to make sure that he was viable. And that would mean no more whitey tighty underwear. Stop trapping the heat in your pants. Wear loose fitting shorts. Seriously. And also no jacuzzis, because jacuzzis are hot tubs and they can be temps higher than 100 degrees. Well, one day Jack went into the hot tub, and Jill, who has a very deep European accent, was yelling, saying, Jack, get out of the hot tub. You're killing your sperm. Get out of there. Like, they were really trying to have kids, and she was dead serious. She wanted to be a mom. So if you're trying to have kids, you don't want to go into the hot tub and kill the sperms. That shuts down spermatogenesis. This is why the male gonads, which are the testes, female gonads are ovaries. The male gonads are outside the body because sperm has to be made in upper 80s to low 90s. Let's see what else. I think that's about it when it comes to the testes. Oh, no, I'll save it for the next one. So let's move on to number 2. This structure here is number 2. Now, earlier this year, girls, I was telling you that you need to learn how to do a self-exam on your own breast because you want to stop a tumor from reaching your lymph nodes in your armpits. So they're called axillary lymph nodes. Once they reach your lymph nodes, they can go anywhere. Well, if you also recall, I told you that you have a high concentration of lymph nodes in your groin region. And guys, I'm talking to you, you are approaching the time of your life where you have the greatest risk of testicular cancer, upper teens, early 20s. So when you are checking yourself, if you feel something in your scrotum and it feels like a lump, it's not necessarily bad. It might be this structure, number 2. It is the epididymis. You have one on each testicle, so there are 2 of them. And this one's really easy. This is where sperm cells mature. This is the second stop for sperm on its journey out the body. Number 3 is this. Now pay attention because it's not just one little structure. It's basically this whole thing. You ready? Watch this. You don't need to do this, but I'm just showing you. It's that whole structure there. This is called your vas deferens, number 3. Your vas deferens or the vas ductus. 2 words. Vas deferens. Now let's see how well you guys know your anatomy. What, Noah? Before you had testes, what did you have? And before you had when you had a fallopian tube, let me rephrase that. You had a fallopian tube, your SRY gene turned on. What did your fallopian tube turn into? What's it called? The vas deferens. That's right. That's what your old fallopian tubes are now. The vas deferens transport sperm from testes to prostate. Now, some of your dads might have the following. What do you call that procedure where a family has had enough children and they're ready to have a permanent form of birth control? This is called a vasectomy. A vasectomy is the severing. Oh, I forgot to say, you have 2 vas deferens if you didn't get that. The severing of both vas deferens. It's basically birth control, permanent. Now, let's say, girls, that you find a husband and you have 1, 2, 3, 12 kids, and you're ready to have enough. You're done. You go to your husband and you say, honey, do you want any more kids? You know, it says yes or no. And if he says no, it's okay. So we're in agreement. We're done reproducing. Yeah, we're done. All right. I think it's so we don't have any unplanned births. I think it's time for you to get the snippety snip snip, the vasectomy. And this is a guy talking. It's honestly much safer for a guy to get it rather than to open up a woman and find her fallopian tubes and cut those off. So what they do is they go into a guy's groin region, and they imagine a straw. You cut a straw in half and you stitch both ends closed. That is a vasectomy. It can be undone, and it costs like 3 times as much, but don't count on that as your go-to in case you change your mind. You need to be sure you're sure. There's a married couple that were friends of my parents where they had 1 daughter and then they were done. The wife says, I'm done. Husband says, great, I'm done too. 2 years later, she goes, I changed my mind. Like, thanks, honey. So he went back under the knife, had his vasectomy undone, and I think they had like 4 or 5 more kids. And then he got it again. So don't count on it to be like the undoing process to work. But this is different than getting neutered, okay? When a dog gets neutered, you remove the testicles. With this, there's no removal of testicles. In fact, the male will still have ejaculation. There just won't be any sperm in there. And the sperm is what causes pregnancy, sperm and egg. So the male will ejaculate. There will be semen that will be released. There's just no sperm in that. And right now, as of our journey through the male reproductive system, all we've got is sperm so far. So let's go to structure number 4. Structure number 4 is going to be the seminal vesicles or the seminal glands. This will be number 4 right here. Number 4. Okay. Did I spell that right? Yep. Nope, I did not. And you have 2 of these, 1 on each side. All right. The seminal vesicles produce 70% of semen volume. Semen is everything else that the sperm are inside of, the fluid, the ejaculate that men release. If you were to just put sperm, and only sperm, in the female reproductive system, it is highly likely that most sperm would not even make it to the cervix. The female's reproductive system has a low pH level. Does that make it an acidic environment or a basic environment? Acidic. And that environment can actually kill the sperm cells. Semen protects the sperm so they can live long enough to get to the egg cell, which is all the way up in the fallopian tube. These seminal secretions include fructose, which is sugar, which is like energy for the sperm, citric acid, which is also energy, and enzymes that increase sperm motility, which is their ability to swim, and fertilizing ability. So they're basically getting a power up and they're getting protection. Okay, we only have 8 minutes. We still have a lot to get to, so let's put a pep in our step. Next, number 5, this structure right here. Anybody know what that is? That's the prostate. Number 5. This is where your urinary system and your reproductive system meet. This is where the urethra goes from 2 to 1. Number 5, the prostate. If men were bulletproof and they could live forever, every man would eventually get prostate cancer. Remember that fun fact. Every man would get a prostate cancer if they could live forever. The prostate's secretions activate sperm. It accounts for 1/3 of semen volume. Guys, when you get older, or maybe the technology has changed, I'm pretty sure it has, but your dads and your grandfathers would have to get their prostate checked, which basically means they bend over on it, they take their pants down, they bend over a table, doctor puts on the glove, lubricates his finger, and digitally feels the prostate. Because if you look here, The finger goes up here and it presses up against the prostate. Now, this is a doctor. He or she knows exactly what it feels like. If the prostate feels hard, it might be a sign of a tumor, and you have to get a biopsy to see if it is in fact cancerous. If you press down on it and it feels like it's supposed to, then you're fine. And exam is over. And then you burn that glove. Okay. But I also want you to notice inside your prostate, this is where the urethra fuses from your urinary system and your reproductive system. And look at this. Your prostate is just underneath your bladder. There used to be a commercial for old guys the commercial showed this old man going to the bathroom like a dozen times in the middle of the night. And the commercial's narrator said, do you have a going problem? Like going to the bathroom? Well, then maybe you have a growing problem, like your prostate is swelling up. You might have some sort of prostate issue. You need to get that checked out. Your prostate can push into your bladder and cause you to pee more. Happens as you get older. Okay, number 6. We're almost done. We have 6 minutes. Next is going to be the urethra. All of this. So we'll say the urethra is number 6. The urethra transports semen and urine out of the body. Number 7 is very small. Look at this. I'm zooming in. That little yellow thing right there. That's it. That's number 7. It's called the bulbourethral gland. The bulbourethral gland. You have 2 of them. It does 2 things. It secretes. Its secretions do 2 things. 1, it neutralizes any lingering urine that might be in your urethra. Urine could damage sperm. You got to get rid of it. Number 2, it lubricates the urethra for sperm during sexual stimulation or sexual excitement. Sperm does not enter into this structure, but this structure's secretions go into the urethra. These secretions are before sperm and semen. Okay, just a couple more, I think, and we're done. Number 8 is the penis. Male reproductive organ. Contains the urethra. You already know what the urethra does. It also has spongy tissue. Spongy tissue fills with blood, and that leads to an erection. When a male's erection goes away, it's basically all that extra blood has left. When a male erection actually happens, it has filled with blood. Just like how a sponge can fill with water. And we have one more. The scrotum, number 8. Or sorry, number 9. This is a sac that holds the testes. Okay, last little mind-blowing fun fact. We talked about how the ovaries became testes. The male penis has erectile tissue, but that had to have come from something from the female anatomy. Do any of you know what the penis was in the female before the SRY gene turned on? The what? No, not the uterus. What? What'd you say? He just said uterus. What do you say? I can't hear you. Clitoris, yes. The clitoris has erectile tissue too. Here's one other thing. Where did the scrotum come from? What did that used to be? The labia minora and majora extended and it fused together. I'll get to that tomorrow. All right, see you.